Every one of you watching this screen, look out.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
What did I tell you about cartoons?
They've got a lot of brains, and they've got a lot of chutzpah.
Tell me how comic books make you feel, Dave.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hello, this is Frantz Kantor, cartoonist, illustrator, and toon talker, and I've got my coffee here. We've got a little book here we're going to do a review. I'm here with
Jim Bridges, and I'm the president of the Australian Cartoon Museum here in downtown Melbourne Docklands.
Yeah, and what we're going to look at today is Paul Rigby's Vietnam Sketchbook. You said something about these things before. There's usually these things existed in a world where we had newsagents, and on the counter in front of the till, there were things other than PK, which you can buy.
What's PK?
Chewing gum.
Oh.
Or juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit, okay.
The Wrigley stuff. There was also little countertop books of usually newspaper cartoonists who did regular strips. They had yearbooks or quarterly or half yearbooks of the cartoons of the year. Sometimes the cartoonists would be, put together a special product. Rigby did things of Perth, books of Perth, and lots of different locations. And it's really a testament to his expertise in perspective.
Well, he was a world traveller. I mean, he went to China in the 50s.
Yeah.
And he, there was David Lowe went to Russia and places like that in the 30s with a reporter, and they wrote about their experiences and their adventures there. And he was, so he'd been to many places. He's very experienced as a cartoonist, going to war zones.
So this is a book on Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it's made up of sketches from his sketchbook, from his diary.
Yeah.
And because of his trip, he was there ensconced in the American and the Australian war effort.
Yeah.
But you can see how close Australia is, or definitely Darwin, is to the war zone here. So there was a lot of paranoia, I guess, at the time, a lot of fear from people that, that China's pushing their weight and coming out and invading us.
This drawing in particular, see, there's
a little story behind this.
It represents a Viet Cong walking down the street with a stolen suitcase of
so there's a little article about this.
I'll just paraphrase it roughly. He was talking about how they were sleeping in this hotel room.
You can actually
there was
read
four
this.
of them.
Yeah.
And
his briefcase was stolen.
His briefcase and and other things like paper and passport and stuff like that. But the thing was that they talk about how the Americans were paid monthly, all the soldiers were paid monthly, and around the day of their payment, that's when all these robberies happened. But he didn't, anyway, they stole his suitcase, his briefcase, because it had all these stickers all over it from all over the world.
And that would make a really good bomb.
Yeah, because they could put it in a airport or a bus depot, whatever it is, and blow up. And while he was while he was staying in Vietnam, a lot of bombs went off. And he talks about how you didn't know who the Viet Cong were, and things like that. It's very interesting. He talks about war. He talks about different things, but it's the little sketches. It's not so much the cartoons that we like about this book. It's
these
the
are little
sketches.
Yeah, exactly. These are little sketches which are peppered throughout the book.
And they're records. They're really good records at the time.
I might say this is a very hard book to come by.
Yeah, it's
by the way, you will not. This won't come up in Google search. Yeah. So you really got to hunt this one down. Anyway, it's chapterized. So this is the chapter of Saigon. Now you can see here there's beautiful little doodle line, very loose almost a continuous line sketch of a rickshaw, and it's a four-wheel.
And the driver who's absolutely buggered. And look at that foot sticking out. Look at where the foot comes down to the.
Yeah,
it's just like
it's a siesta
T-bone.
time.
Yeah.
So there you go. It probably in the heat of the day. Usually, in some countries, they have an hour off.
And so, like the humour of the man keeps on coming out in the sketches.
Yeah,
like,
this
is
is
at the airport, and you've got planes going all over the
Yeah, look
place.
at the choppers and the planes, all of the international jets. There's a lot happening here, so it's a very, very busy time. This is really interesting because most people don't get this view of Saigon or the Vietnam War, and you're actually seeing it from the perspective of somebody walking around in the street, just getting nice little anecdotal sketches.
Yeah, so here is the street scene.
This is the Bar Boulevard in Saigon.
The what?
Bar Boulevard. So you.
Oh yeah,
they
where all
call
the bars are. Yes.
I guess it wouldn't be called Bar Boulevard.
They
but
call
it would
it Boulevard. Anyway, the
So
French,
these are all the bars.
because it's very French. A lot of the architecture, and here's this
There's a
bloke
Vietnamese-
just sitting on his bike, looking,
chatting to an American
who's
GI.
who's on
Point
guard,
duty,
on
yeah.
point duty, and this is. So look where he draws toes. That's the shoe shine group who don't have shoes, who do all the American
Yeah, so they're
boots.
they're obviously that's their living to shoe shines.
Yeah.
To do shoe shines of people with who want shiny shoes, usually Americans.
And over here, it's very French. It looks
Look
like
at the Boulevard.
this reminds me of
very provincial. Even the trees themselves.
of
He must have
Searle's
brought
book
in
of France, of Paris.
European trees.
He talks about how all the bikes were all stacked there and was an ideal place to hide a bomb in the middle of it.
You
blow
wouldn't
up.
see it till it's too late.
Yeah, and here's an American.
This is
At a restaurant, a floating restaurant, which actually
all the medals
got,
and soup.
and he always draws Americans
fruit
with
salad.
cigars.
Yeah,
So a bit of humour there, and it was a floating restaurant, and
it's a really lovely gesture.
70 people died here in the last terrorist bomb attack.
Yeah,
So he says, bon appetit.
but look how these are. It's like a travel brochure. Beautiful travel illustrations. Like, come and see sunny Vietnam. But there's a sinister undertone underneath it. And even like there's humor everywhere you go because he can't help himself. He calls this 7-Up. There's 7 people on a little Vespa or a little moped.
Yeah.
The whole family's going shopping or something, And look at the American gatekeeper. Or traffic. No, that's a traffic warden. This is a very French concept.
Yeah.
The French traffic wardens, and see the gestures that they have, those overblown gestures which are typically European.
Yeah.
They're directing traffic in a French style. So this is very, very interesting, isn't it? Because we often forget Vietnam is not an American or Australian experience. It was first, of course, a French colony.
Many years.
Yeah.
And he loves drawing the women with the American hairstyles and the Asian
like
clothing.
Kennedy's wife, the beehives and the black high, pushed up hair.
Look how he draws the shoes with that.
The Chinese
drawing
collar
the feet.
dresses.
He leaves out the line of the feet, just the shoes.
Yeah.
I love that in
High
in
heels.
sketches. How you just put what you need down.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So already you can see you get a different feel than to say China before the communists. So this is Saigon before the communists.
Yeah.
And you can get a real feel for the continental look melding with the Chinese styles. It's a beautiful melding of cultures.
So this is the difference between the sketches
Yeah.
and the stuff he was producing.
This
in
is
the
the
paper,
newspaper stuff.
making a joke. So the GI is on R&R.
Yeah.
And he's water skiing, but he's got a rifle with him because of the snipers and there's choppers everywhere and there's all these bombs in the
you're
water.
going to get a
and
real what's that movie?
Apocalypse
I smell
Now.
napalm in the morning.
Yeah, Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, you're going to get a real Apocalypse Now feel with the cartoons. But these are incredible. These, you're going to get this really beautiful.
Yeah.
This is like a cafe. What's she singing here?
Well, she's singing Night and Day.
Night and Day, yeah.
This is a rooftop restaurant
Wow.
and cabaret at the US Bachelor Officers' Quarters. And she's sort of, she's singing probably in a French accent, Night and Day. You are the one. And there's no cigars. So there's no cigars. But the thing is, he talks about how there was fear in the whole town because of the bombs going off all the time.
Yeah.
This is a crowd.
Although you wouldn't see it from these expressions.
No, especially children.
You know, look at this, a street vendor.
Yeah. You know, a
Breakfast store, so you can go and get your breakfast, you know.
And this is a typical French street, even the trees, the way they put the trees there, you know.
Yeah.
And it's
American
a traffic
Jeeps.
jam. Yep. And
Bikes,
of course, this is
Chinese hats.
This is the execution post, conveniently situated at the central marketplace,
In full view of everybody.
so everybody
and-
gets an unavoidable ringside view of the action.
Yeah, if they want to.
Yeah.
So I guess you'd execute Viet Cong.
Yes.
So there'd be another quarter where
Yeah.
the Viet Cong would be.
And here's the
executing,
press briefing. I mean, they had daily press briefings, which is actually pretty extraordinary because now they keep wars under wraps. But the Vietnam War was totally unusual because they had cameras. It was an open war in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an American colonel or general or something complaining about the traffic in Saigon.
Yeah.
So, you know, but look at the beautiful French. Well, that looks very Art Nouveau. That one. Look how beautiful these. That's an inside of a hat. That's a bonnet or something.
Yeah.
A sun bonnet.
These
It's
sort
really
of hats,
beautiful.
These sort of hats, those large.
You know, it represents the '60s very well. The Beat era. You know. Also Chinese style, Chinese classic style.
You can just hear Diana Ross in the background.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, the Supreme's hairdos. Yeah, it's
Good
incredible.
morning, Vietnam.
And even these little sketches here, which are obviously from his sketchbook, you know, little tiny sketches that he'll do. These are really charming. These are beautiful little things, and you know.
So here's a half sketch, half cartoon, but baby, us peoples of the free world gotta get together. And then he does a full-on cartoon where this bloke, he picked up a girl at a bar and it turned out to be a Viet Cong in disguise. And of course there's the cigars falling out of the mouths and stuff. You know?
Yeah, but all the hairdos and things are all referenced from his street sketches. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is even with a cartoon here, there's nothing here that's not referenced
And of course there's
from
always
reality.
helicopters everywhere.
So they're referencing the actual time, the actual period and the place, time and place.
This is one of the
Brilliant.
hotels that was blown up.
Look at that. It's like...
And here's a gag he's made, you know, for the paper. No need to take a taxi to your hotel, just stand on the corner and let it come to you. Boom. Here's an Australian...
signpost, Australian joke.
Yeah, half mile to Etamuga pub, licensee 2-pot Len. So 2-pot Len,
Bien Hoa, which
obviously
is
could
French
only drink 2 pots and then he'd be drunk. So he'd be a
Vietnamese.
good bloke to run a pub.
Yeah, so bien is good, right? So good something.
I don't know. No idea. After dark, the same highway becomes VC territory,
Yeah.
Viet Cong.
Yeah. What a strange period of time.
So he starts drawing the Aussies now, and suddenly they're a bit more bronzed Anzac-y sort of types, aren't they?
They're wonderful.
And here's his cartoon about these layback Aussies who are taking the war nonchalantly at the Yakandanda pub without the D.
Yeah.
And, you know, the cocktail hour is held to the accompaniment of Aussie 105mm shells screaming overhead on their way out to the war zone D. And open that window, will you, Blue? Our mobs are dropping them a bit short today. You know, sort of very extreme.
Yeah. Language right out of the 1930s.
Very basic shower situation.
Yeah.
It's obviously hot, so people are walking around half undressed.
People remember this from MASH.
Yeah, and choppers everywhere. Choppers everywhere. So more choppers. And
Yeah.
this is a perennial gag. They're selling fake Viet Cong flags to the Aussies, to the Americans. The Aussies are making a killing, and they're not making a killing. They're chopping off chook heads to get the blood out of the manufacturing flags. And it's a great tradition because Weg, the Australian cartoonist who did all those wonderful football grand final pictures, he did the same thing in New Guinea, selling Japanese, so-called original Japanese flag to the Americans. There's Viet Cong. A couple of them with their hands tied behind them.
Yeah.
Nice bit of black here, just
Sensitive. It's good. You know, I love these little loose drawings because it just shows a really good understanding of
You get a
perspective.
feel.
Yeah.
And whenever we get to this page, we always talk about the difference between drawing and photography.
You can't get this in a photograph because it's really, really intricate and focused. You know, like a photograph with everything would be.
Well, all
the
this
same
should be
detail.
or there'd be too much detail here with all that technical stuff. But he just puts enough in there to give you the feeling of the place.
Well, it's like an impressionist.
Yeah. The cockiness
drawer.
of this guy with his arms, see his fingers in his pants,
Yeah.
his thumbs in his pants, and how it covers his eyes.
Tyler.
The cockiness of the character. And of course, over here, this is a gunner in a chopper on the side, and his foot is right next to the thing, so it gives the impression of he's in a small space, you know.
Well, it's straddled on either side
Yeah.
of the window, so
Yes.
his machine gun is pointed down
Yeah.
outside the copter,
Yeah.
so that they can actually tilt the copter and he won't fall out.
Yeah. Well, that's why his foot's
He's also
there.
harnessed
That's
in
why
there.
his foot's there.
You can see he's harnessed in there as
Is
well. Yeah, he's harnessed. You
Oh, okay.
can see a belt there, but just in case, you know, you don't want him dangling.
No, that's not a belt. That's the top of his pocket. He's not. I don't
That's
think
his
he's.
knife?
No, that's a pocket. That's the top of the pocket. See the
Yeah,
button
but
hole?
no, the one next to it is probably.
No, that's a knife.
Oh well, then there you go. You can.
That's why he's got his foot there. And of course, look at this. Choppers everywhere. This is supposed to be a cartoon about their sneaking in to find the Viet Cong, and all the locals are waiting for them to sell them everything they can possibly flog.
But look how beautiful these children are. Like, lovely little, you know, expressions.
Yeah,
And
each kid-
very simply done.
Each
Cool.
kid's got a different expression.
Yeah.
And this is Aussies.
Yeah.
Battalion. you know.
Battalion command post.
Yeah. Just a tent.
Everything's canvas.
Yep.
Nothing you can't carry.
And this is the Americans got a lot of medals.
Yeah. See
And-
the sacks of medals.
Yeah,
and the
carrying off.
Australians get half a medal. They get rationed.
Yeah, and
They
they-
don't have a lot of medals.
Yeah, and look at their faces, and they're all got cigs in their mouth hanging out, you know.
And there's a guy chopping the medals into bits.
Yeah, cutting them up, which is ridiculous. And this is nice. I like
Look how
that.
happy they are and how sad they are.
Yeah.
The guy's like, all right, I'll get one.
Well, and they're going home. That's going home to Australia. And that's going
Yeah, look at
home
the
to America.
Qantas, the old Qantas.
Well, it's not a Qantas.
It is,
It's a
it's
flying
Qantas.
kangaroo, but it's an army. It's an army.
Yeah, but isn't that Qantas?
Yeah, but it's an army thing.
Oh, they had a flying
It's a-
kangaroo?
Yeah, the army did. Yeah, the Navy, the
Well,
Air
look
Force.
at theirs.
The Air Force.
Look at their painted
Yeah,
flag, and ours is just an old tattered rag.
yeah.
Such
And
a
this is on the 12th day of April. My VC gave to me 12 rounds of dum-dum, 11 homemade bombs, and it goes on all the different.
Claymore mines, flamethrowers, Panji stakes.
And two hand grenades and some plastic,
Plastique.
Dufan.
Whatever that is.
Plastic explosive.
Yeah.
And of course, here's his sketch.
That's
Very
lovely.
Rough,
Of
rough
the-
little sketch. But
of the
look,
river.
look, there's more
Yeah.
choppers in the air than there are mosquitoes.
Yeah. So, you know, there's this incredible contrast between the cartoon that appeared in the paper and the the drawings of the diggers and the Americans, which is sort of like a
the records.
yeah, that's sort of like a that movie. But these
That movie.
yeah, whatever that is. But these are beautiful little almost travelogue pictures. They're really lovely. You could have a whole, if he's got enough of these, you could have a whole book of them. That would be lovely. This is, of course, a newspaper cartoon talking about how hard it is.
Yeah, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. They're fighting the Viet Cong, and of course the other people want them out of their own country. Yankee go home, and foreign troops go home.
Yeah.
This is interesting because this would be on the outpost of the camp, and notice how the tent is very low because the lower you are, the less chance you've got of being shot, and the gun, it looks like some sort of machine gun.
And you'll notice
it's
this
actually on the ground level.
Yeah. So this would be an Australian one.
Yeah.
Australian outpost. So the American ones would have sandbags. So they're obviously better protected than the Australian ones. This is him. This is the man, Paul Rigby.
And this is the size of the picture where he crams in all this incredible detail into his cartoons.
Yeah. So he's using a brush there to do that reveal with the Ben-Day, the half-tone pattern that they used in newspapers. So
there's no date on this book, but I'd say it's early 60s. Because
early 60s,
yeah. It says somewhere that the Australians had only been there. Do you want to open up the whole page?
Yeah.
The Australians had only been there for about 1 year, so
okay,
you can work that out.
So it'd be about 64, something like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And of course, with all this, you've got to have a couple of choppers, don't you?
Yeah.
Very French. Very French.
It is, yeah. It would not be out of place in a French Impressionist sketchbook. It's the details are really very, very telling of his ability to capture this flavour and character of a place. So he's not just a good cartoonist, but he's a great artist and visual diarist.
Yes.
So this is quite an interesting book. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Also, we have another film we've made on Vietnam, which has a lot more cartoons in it, especially Paul Rigby's. So check that out.
If you'd like, you could please
on our YouTube
subscribe
channel.
to our YouTube channel, and if you want to support us with support these films, which take a lot of time and money to produce, you can do so on our Patreon page, and the links for both of those are underneath. All right, I'll see you later.
Alligator?
That's it. Yeah. Okay.
In a wild crocodile. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the sour persimmons, cousin.